antlers, assumptions, and artillery. As things are being cleaned up, there is the sound of furious clicking as one undinous woman drags another along. To look at the lines on their face would convince you that they're the same age. But the sheer presence of the one dragging the other by her stinger tail tells you that not only is she the elder, but she's an elder who is working under a thorough deficit of patience for any further nonsense. Couple that with the robotic left claw she's dragging the younger with, having a design that looks like it's meant to peel candy doors out of their power armor, lends a serious mood of "don't fuck with me" to her. That and the furious twitch around her eye really sells it. "Are you the manager of the store?" the first Andinist demands. "Why does my shirt say mayor all of a sudden?" The manager demands in a pissy mood. "My idiot daughter is going to be working for you until she works off the damage her reckless stupidity has caused to your store." "What? But Mom, we have money that's not—" The younger Andinist protests and gets a hard yank from her mother's robotic claw until she's sent staggering in front of the manager. "And if you have that kind of idiot attitude, we won't be keeping it for long." The mother snaps before looking over the whole group. "Please tell me her stupid stabbing things at random while wandering through here didn't hurt any of you." "Us? No, but a Nagasha was badly hurt. A Tret and Slob were also nearly crushed as well due to the dishwasher stack that was compromised," Bjorn says, and the older Ondinus lets out a long, frustrated, and thoroughly done groan. "Mom, seriously, this is just—" The younger Andinus begins before yelping as the robotic claw closes a little tighter. "Girl, you are the walking embodiment of everything I hate about our once great family. If you weren't my daughter, I'd tie you out for the tundra worms." She snaps, and the younger looks genuinely hurt at that. She then snaps her gaze toward Bjorn and considers. "English?" she asks in English. "Swedish," he answers in his native tongue. "I do not know that language." "I said Swedish. I am from Sweden. We speak Swedish there." "I see," she answers. "Has my daughter's idiot urge to sting things just to see what happens caused you harm as well?" "No, no harm. The closest I came to West Center was when I pulled the injured Nagasha out from under the pile of dishwashers. Then I appear to owe you a debt. Thank you for stopping my daughter from becoming a murderer," she says. "But—" The daughter begins, and her tale is given a harsh twist. You Ashina will be speaking with your new employer until you have either paid the debt or worked here for a month straight of exemplary work. Whichever comes last, you will be working here. Is that understood?" "That's not fair." "It is very fair, and that's why it feels so harsh. I have spoiled you rotten by shielding you from your own stupidity for far, far too long. No longer you will learn to appreciate the world around you. Until you learn the actual value of things, you're cut off and working minimum wage," the mother says, and Ashina outright pales. "That's not—" Before Ashina can shout about how unfair it is, she gets yanked back to her mother, whose organic claw finds itself wrapped around her skull, and she's picked up. "I will not have my only surviving child reduce herself to a pathetic, self-centered twit. You will work off the damage and prove to me and your new boss that you actually understand what it means to work. You will do this, or I will find something far, far worse. This is the last of my mercy for your selfish stupidity." She snaps before all but throwing Ashina towards the manager. "Is there going to be any problem with her working here?" "No, ma'am, there is not," the manager states. "Good." She takes a calming breath. "Good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I apparently need to scour nearby hospitals for the victim of my daughter's selfishness." Bjorn starts quickly texting things out and receives a response. "Her name is Vita Longquo. She's in the Northern Arcology Hospital." "Thank you," the mother Andinus says with a sigh before shooting her daughter a final glare, then leaving without a word. As she walks away, she grasps at the axiom and fades away in a slow but solid teleport. More designed for long distance and safe travel than quick use. "All right then, I guess. Come with me. Your first duty is to sweep up this massive mess, then help move all the broken and damaged dishwashers into—" The manager begins, and Ashina outright hisses at her. There's a movement of her tail, a reactionary movement from Bjorn, and he has the stinger of the bipedal scorpion alien held between his fingers as a crushing grip keeps the tail from moving. The manager's eyes are wide, terrified as she slowly backs away from the insanely hostile Ashina. Bjorn starts squeezing the tail and she lashes at him with her pincers. His quick movement means she only snaps onto her own tail. "That is more than enough out of you, young lady," Bjorn says before his foot lashes out and hooks the back of her knees to topple her. He yanks on the tail to make her fall on her stomach, and his boot crashes down into the small of her back. "Can anyone trace her mother's teleport? Disciplining someone's child isn't exactly something I'm supposed to do," Bjorn remarks. The manager begins. "You, Bjorn asks. "She was going to kill me?" the manager says with wide eyes. "That's what a sharp object to the eye is generally intended to do." Bjorn says even as Ashina pounds at the floor with her claws and tries to thrash out of his pin. However, he can disrupt her axiom, pulls through his boot, so she's a young woman who's maybe 120 pounds soaking wet, trying to dislodge a man whose workout includes weights more easily measured in tonnage. Not happening. "All right, Brat, listen to me and listen well. You're hurting me. You've hurt people and nearly tried to kill someone right in front of me. You should be thankful I'm only hurting you." Bjorn reacts as his grip on the end of her tail starts closing, and he can feel the carapace starting to shift as he approaches the point of crushing it to pulp. The girl starts thrashing and screaming as her pincers beat the floor. He kneels down to her level and puts his other hand on the back of her head and holds her up ever so slightly. "I don't want to have to do this again. If we do, then the next time your mother sees you is when you're in a hospital bed. Understand?" Yes, please. Just stop hurting me," Ashina screams, and he lets go of her tail. It slams down into the floor as she begins to sob. After a moment of stillness, he lets go of her head and steps off her back. After a few moments of regaining her breath, she suddenly rises up and charges Bjorn. He moves and punches her in the side of the head to knock her out and down. There is a silence before Bjorn sighs and brings out his communicator. He calls the hospital and calls it in as a very violent girl that needed to be knocked out before she stopped attacking. He makes a point of it being the Northern Archaeology Hospital. The clicking sound and furious aura certainly makes Ashina's mother an intimidating presence. She had called for him when she learned her daughter was in the hospital. There is a metallic ring to some of the clicking, which lets him know the robotic claw is working overtime. She says nothing as he enters the room, so he doesn't start the conversation. After a while, her tail writhing around in fury and her claws clacking, she suddenly clears her throat. "Do you know who I am?" The girl's mother, but that question implies a past, as does that heavy combat-grade prosthetic. Bjorn says gently, "Yes, that's all correct. But do you know specifics?" she asks. "I do not," he says. "I was going to be in charge once." She says, and the clicking grows more furious. "We were strong. We were fierce." Bjorn just listens as the woman isn't even looking at him, just glaring at her unconscious daughter. "We were fools. Let me guess, everything was stable and strong, and then a sudden rush of spoiled recklessness that your daughter shows hit the family hard and broke it," Bjorn says. "Yes," she says, glaring at her child. "I know nearly 100 languages. I speak them all fluently and most with a native accent. But in all of them, I struggle to find the words to describe what I think about my child. Why do you want to speak with me?" Bjorn decides to cut to the chase. "I saw the security feed. My daughter attacked the manager and you defended her. Then you safely pinned her and let her go when she stopped the thrashing. Then she charged you. One blow, one knockout," she states before finally looking at him. "My name is Mangowa, with my last name translating to Bright Eyes. In its native language, you cannot even make out half the syllables." "I see. Again, I ask Miss Bright Eyes, why do you wish to speak with me? If you have seen the security feed, then you know precisely what I have done." "I do. You showed my daughter mercy. If she had tried that before the family was broken, she would have lost her tail at the very least. Attacking you after you let her go would have cost her her life," Mangowa says grimly. "So what do you want?" "Excuse me? I owe you a debt, which means that I must pay it back. You're not part of the family game, so a favor must be paid off to get you out as swiftly as possible. You have no business in the life of me and mine. So I suppose just asking what the hell you're talking about is off the table then?" Bjorn asks, and she gives him a very sharp look. You are military. I can sense that pocket you have. I can't sense into it. But the fact you have tri-tight plating and that undaunted brand on you means you're ready for a small war to break out, she says as she considers. He lets the silence just work its magic. For some reason, most people just generally uncomfortable with silence. He just stands there, and as the minutes start to pass, there's eventually a chuckle of amusement from Mangowa. Have you been to other arcologies? I have. Then you may have seen the little markings on the doorways to businesses and some apartments. A marking that may be a little familiar, she says, holding her tail out to the light and using it to cast a shadow of her stinger. The shadow is shaped like a crescent. The stung? He asks, and she nods. I am one of the last of the original generation. The divided, squabbling, squamous stupidity of the current generation is not what the stung was. We were, in many arcologies, we were the unofficial government. So a former gangster? Bjorn asks, and a lot of things start making sense. If Ashina was basically a mafia princess touching the real world for the first time, that would explain her behavior. More than that, we had it big, very big, Mangowa says. At the levels we were at before the division, we had everything we were only maybe a few years away from being completely legitimate, from just taking over dozens of arcologies. We were so close. Then what happened, Haramwan? He asks. I don't fully know. I was away at the time. Being fifth in line and the strong left claw of the leader means you get sent out of territory duties. And when you got back, I was the last girl standing of the original family. The hired help were fighting over everything, and the original home was more scorch-marked than anything else, she says before sighing. You know, at the level we were at, there's almost no difference between a military, a gang, and a government. The loyalty, the oaths, the way everyone works together. If we were a government, I would have been an elite police enforcer. In a military, I would have been special forces. Now I'm all that's left of something that was so beautiful. Not many would describe a criminal family as beautiful. Bjorn notes, and she sighs. Yes, from the outside it seems to be something horrible. But we took care of our own. People that we protected were not only kept safe, but profited from us as much as we did from them. It was working well, and then everything went wrong. What happened? I don't know. I came back after a really well-done job and everything was burnt or stolen and the survivors were completely nuts. All I know is that of the original family, there's only me and Ashina left. The rest are in-laws grabbing at power and the like. So that's the breaking of the stung. How'd you get out? I was taught by my mother, the head of the family, to always have a stash. Something to make sure I would have something no matter what. I added to it religiously. It served me very well, Mangowa says, looking out over the room. And now my daughter is exactly that same kind of short-sighted. I'm sorry, Bjorn says, and she waves her mechanical claw at him. Thank you, but the words are empty. She's my problem.